Well, John, welcome to the show, man. It's great to visit with you.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm glad we finally got this worked out.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. So you are joining us from Alabama.
That's correct. I'm in right outside of Birmingham today. I live in Birmingham there, and then also my farm down in Southeast Alabama. But we are in a warehouse south of Birmingham, about 30 miles.
Okay. I haven't been to Alabama in a long time, but we had some family friends growing up there that lived in, I want to say Alexandria City, maybe.
Yeah, man, that's a beautiful place. It's on a big lake and
Yeah.
one of the prettiest lakes in America, and that's a nice place to be.
Alabama's a state full of hunting tradition. I will say that.
Yeah, and great football.
Yeah, that is true. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and great football.
But you know what? As a Baylor fan, I always, it doesn't bother me when A&M gets their ass kicked by Alabama every year. So
I know. It doesn't bother me either. I remember when I was playing at Alabama in the late '80s, we played A&M, and it was the 12th man and all that. And I think I was returning a kick or covering a kick. I don't remember. And anyway, one of those guys had one of those. I blocked this guy and really made a good block on him. And when I got him on the ground, I ripped his 12th man towel off of him and took it home with me.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Funny.
My grandfather went to A&M, and I don't know, I just never liked the Aggies, but so we always had this, and they always beat Baylor pretty good, but times have changed for us. Things are on the up and up. But anyway, wanted to talk turkeys with you today. I got an email from our friend Andrew Howard, and he said that you had just broken like a world record when it comes to turkey hunting, pursuing the Grand Slam. So I guess that's Rio, Eastern, Merriam's, and was it
Osceola? Yeah. Yep, that's right.
So it was where did this quest take you, and first of all, what sparked your desire to? I mean, a lot of people want to get a Grand Slam. I haven't pursued it. I'd love to do it, but I don't really know if I'd be like, well, I'm going to do it in the least amount of time as possible. So what sparked that idea?
So I have a good friend of mine, Slade Johnston, that's a young man that I kind of mentor. I met him. He's got his MBA at the University of Alabama, and I do some work with their business school and help them. And anyway, we met several years ago, and he's an entrepreneur and owns a company called Trips for Trade, where a guy like anybody, could be us. I could trade a trip. I could trade a hunting trip to my farm, a turkey hunt at my farm for a turkey hunt in Colorado, or I could trade a condo visit to go deer hunting in Texas, whatever. So he sets up trades for trips and things like that. And he had really gotten in his head that he had heard about these guys that had done the Grand Slam in a really fast time. And anyway, he goes, hey, why don't we try to break the world record, and you go try to kill the Grand Slam in the fastest time that's ever been done. Huh. And we're going to do it in 2020. And of course, COVID derailed everything. And so, I had COVID like early March of last year. So it's one of the first cases. And so anyway, we didn't do it. And then he called me this year and said, do you want to do it? And I said, yeah, let's do it. But I said, hey, if we're going to do something like this, it's a little bit outrageous and it's going to cost a significant amount of money to do it. I was flying my airplane. I was the person flying the airplane. And so the logistics and getting people to help us all across the country and hunting licenses and all the travel expenses. I said, we just don't need to do this so I can go break a world record. I said, we need to do this and have it be for a cause and for a good purpose. And so we decided to raise money for conservation and land and conservation and hunting, and picked an organization to raise the money for. And so we basically went out there and just raised funds from people that wanted to see this process done. We had a lot of great sponsors give away $20-something thousand worth of giveaways. And so we were able to raise about a little over $23,000 that we donated. I funded the whole trip myself. Nothing was covered by any person except me. Mm-hmm. And we had some great people helping us. And man, we started in Alabama.
So where'd you guys donate the funds?
So we donated to the NWTF.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, which has done a lot for land conservation over the years. And the thing about conservation and hunting is that conservation for hunting really impacts all animals, whether you're a hunter or not, and species that are being hunted. So if you're improving habitat for land for turkeys, for example, you're improving them for every other type of animal that's out there, and you're protecting land to keep it available for the public to be able to use for forever. And so we were real passionate about that. And so we decided to donate the money there. And we had a tremendous amount of buy-in from the standpoint of people wanting to give money. And then also the engagement of this trip was pretty incredible.
Okay. And so did you guys film it?
Yep. We filmed it. We sure did. And the video is on you can access it through my bio in my Instagram or on my YouTube channel. And I have a link tree on my Instagram bio, and you can go in there and it just says world record turkey hunt video. And you can watch the video there. ICT Creative Group, who filmed my cooking show that I do for Spy Point Cameras, called Darn Hungry. They were the guys that I hired to do the filming, and they're just amazing videographers and really good editors. And so I think the video is pretty neat. It's got, it's 4 different hunts all put together, in the travel and how we made all this thing, how we got this done. And it's pretty neatly put together. I think it's a great production, and we've had a lot of people watch it so far.
I'll put the link on our website. I have not watched it yet. So looking forward to that. So
yeah,
where you guys started at home in Alabama?
We did. And so here's the thing, what we wanted to do, we wanted to basically do this hunt based on the NWTF map. The guys that had the record in 46 something hours, they basically killed 2 turkeys in Kansas, in Eastern and a Rio in Kansas. And there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, there's purebred turkeys in both those places. And I'm not taking away anything from anybody else. I mean, this is not one of those matches where you're trying to one up somebody. This is just everybody caring about hunting and passionate about doing something really great. But for us, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to kill an Eastern turkey over in the South, because they are the hardest turkeys to kill in America, 100%. I don't think anybody that's ever hunted in the South, and Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, how hard those birds are to kill. So we wanted to kill a purebred Eastern in the South. We wanted to go to Florida and kill an Osceola. And then we based the NWTF map where the purebreds were. And so we went to South Dakota for the Merriam, and we went to Kansas for the Rio. And so we were able to take all 4, and we did it in about 45 hours.
Oh, wow. So it came down to the wire.
It did. And so what happened was we started in Alabama, and we started at my farm. And so, we were putting something like this together. You have to play all these scenarios, because you have all this travel time, and you only have a certain amount of time to hunt during the day. And then you have different seasons overlapping. And so the hard part about this hunt is we only had about 8 to 10 days where all the seasons overlapped for these turkeys, these purebred turkeys in these different counties and different states.
Wow.
And the hard part about that was Florida was at the last week of the season. So these birds where we were hunting had a lot of pressure. It was a small 40-acre farm in the middle of a big public hunting area that was private. But the birds were still very, very skittish, even though they were living right by this man's house, a little getaway he's got, and they walk through the yard. I tell you, the minute you get out and try to start hunting them, it's a different story. And so that was really challenging, killing a turkey at my farm, which we have a lot of turkeys. I don't really hunt them a lot. So they're really, they don't get a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. But again, we opened that morning at my farm. We had 9 gobblers, and I thought there was like 1 bird up in this corner of the farm, and there ended up being 9 flew down, and we're all strutting. And we were on the wrong side of the tree facing a clover field, and they ended up strutting in these pretty burnt pines right behind us. So we could not move for an hour and a half. And while they just put on a show, we were on a skinny open pine tree. We weren't in a blind. And so we couldn't move. We couldn't turn around and shoot them. But the irony in the whole thing is that we ended up shooting a bird at 9 o'clock or 9:30, whenever it was, at the back part of my farm that we called in pretty quick, and an old bird. And by killing that turkey at 9 instead of like right at daylight, it bought us the last 40 minutes the following third morning for allow us to break the record, because we had in South Dakota, you can legally hunt 30 minutes before sunrise. And so we had birds come right off the roost, came right in, and I shot one in just the nick of time for us to be able to break the world record. If we had shot that turkey that morning at 6 o'clock that morning, then we would have never broken the record. We would have done all that and either had to start over again, or we would just have
Wait,
to
so
bag it
so
the
help me
following year.
understand that. So if you would have shot the bird earlier, how would
So
that
if I
have
shot the bird earlier, because so then we went that afternoon and killed one in Florida. Then the next morning we shot one in Kansas right off the roost. So we had all day the second day. And in theory, we went to South Dakota. We flew right up to South Dakota. It was like an hour and a half flight. When we got there, we were on turkeys within 30 minutes of arriving. You know, we had an hour drive to the ranch, and then we got out, and within 30 minutes later, we were on turkeys. And I just sat in the wrong spot in a little swag. I couldn't see. It was a terrible setup. I know better. And we was just, you know, we weren't really familiar with the land. The landowner had us and was scared for us to walk up this hill to get set up because he thought the birds were going to see us. So we set up there, and the cameraman and the caller, they were behind me and higher than me, and they could see the turkey when it popped its head over a hill, but I couldn't. Excuse me. And so anyway, I could have run up the hill and just kind of ambushed him and shot him, but it would have been off camera. And in the spirit of what we were doing and really wanting to have a really good hunt that we could get all the kills on video, I just didn't feel like in the spirit of what we were doing, it was the right thing to do. It was just a little bit, even though we were out for a record, I just wanted to make it a little bit more legit. And so we never got on a turkey that afternoon. So we were done. And so we went to bed. You know, there was some crazy long faces. We were all really dejected, very upset, very bummed out. And then we started running the math, and we had a clock, and we were like, okay, wow, well, we got tomorrow morning to break the record. Our goal, we wanted to do it in under 36 hours.
Okay.
And that was 2 full days of hunting. And we didn't break, you know, we didn't reach our goal. If we'd shot the turkey that, you know, that I was set up wrong, we would have been done in 26 hours, which would have been an incredible,
oh my gosh,
an incredible feat. I mean, and we had that turkey. I mean, I knew I could see his red head just barely, but I couldn't shoot it. And you know, to go that many places that far and to have killed 4 turkeys in 26 hours, it would have been quite a feat. But I also think it would have been a little bit too good. I think it would have come off that we were just too good and that it was not that hard. And we
just run around shooting them high fence birds.
Yeah. And that just is not the case. And so we struggled that entire afternoon and had multiple chances at multiple turkeys and just could not. And, you know, we felt that the Merriam was going to be the easiest turkey of all of them to kill, which it typically is. And so anyway, we got shut out that afternoon, and by not killing the turkey 48 hours or, you know, earlier, and we went back in time a little bit, it gave us more opportunity to get a bird shot that final morning. And when we shot it at 45 hours and 40 something minutes or whatever, we just had the nick of time to break the world record. And then, you know, our record is a little bit different than those guys. And I think that, you know, if anybody wants to go out there and try to break the record and doing a fast Grand Slam, it's legal to do it any way you want to do it. But if they want to break what we did, they need to go shoot a bird in the South and shoot 4 birds in 4 different states that are purebred. We think that we kind of put a little deal out there that they need to be time stamped. There needs to be a running clock, and it all needs to be done on video, so there's proof. And then, you know, I think it'll be fun next year for people. I'm assuming some people are going to go try to break this, and it'll be really fun to watch them along the way. And I may do it again. I don't know.
Yeah. So how did the Florida hunt play out? I've never hunted Osceolas.
So this is a really good friend, and he's retired, and he has these birds, and they're just there all the time. So I got cameras every day down there sending me pictures, and they're just in the yard all day long. And you think it's just going to be a layup. And so we go get it set up in a blind, and we hunt them in the afternoon. And anyway, we had this big turkey come in, the one that we wanted to shoot, and he kind of came into our left and either saw something he didn't like in the blind, or 3 of us in there and something moved, but he did not like something and did not come in. And that should have been done there pretty quickly. And we'd have had a nice afternoon because we could have, you know, not been in such a rush to get to South Dakota. But long story short, we thought we were getting ready to start the entire hunt over again. Because, I mean, it was 5 or 10 minutes before it got dark. 2 gobblers came out in this field about 150 yards in front of us, and they just did not want to just peck, you know, eat grasshoppers and whatever they eat, and you're pecking around this field. And they started to hit these beautiful woods to my right that were going in there to roost. And they went behind a palmetto. I was crawling to try to intercept them into this field. So I started crawling, and I wanted to intercept them to shoot them. And so they're filming me. Well, when the birds went behind this big palmetto, we're back in the woods, I just stood up and sprinted as fast as I could sprint. And then they saw the movement, even though they were behind us. So they started running. So I ran, stopped, shot, and ended up dropping that turkey on a dead run at like 60 yards.
Oh, wow.
And thank God it was just like the last second before the hunt was over. And then if we hadn't shot that bird, we probably would have just spent the night right there, shot a turkey right there that morning, which we felt like could have been fairly easy. And then we would have gone to my farm, shot another turkey there, and started over again. So you had this little scenario going the whole time. What if? And if anybody knows turkeys, listen, this is not, even though they're patterned, even though you know where they are and they're hanging out, they're just so weird, and they just do such bizarre things. They don't do anything the same way twice. You can't really pattern them and anything like that. And so
I've got one gobbler on my deer lease, and typically we had a few jakes last year, sea hens every once in a while, but we're like at the very end of this stretch, that kind of this creek that's a finger off of the Red River, and most of our neighbors have clear cut for ag, like it's mostly winter wheat and stuff. So we have great habitat, but we just are at the end of their range in that area. And we had this one gobbler. I went Easter weekend out there just to sniff around, see if we had anything. I hadn't had any pictures of them. I've got cameras out. So a buddy and I went hog hunting, and we hear the Friday night before the season, just he's going off. I was like, oh, that's exciting. I hunted that damn bird for probably 5 or 6. I shot him the second day. I shot him, and it didn't kill him. And he was coming in. I'm making all this racket, and the more aggressive I got, the more excited he got. And this hen came between me and him as he's strutting toward my decoy.
Oh gosh!
And so he starts going after the hen, and I'm like, all right, he's like 50 yards. And I shot him, and I just didn't hit him in the head. I shot him broadside, and it didn't hurt him. I mean, I was hoping that I would get pictures of him again. Sure enough, I got pictures of him that afternoon. He's fine. And I've tried to hunt him like 5 full days since then. He doesn't come to calls. So I was like, okay, I took my son out there, and he's 8, and we were just going to deer hunt him, basically sit in a blind and just wait for him.
Yeah.
He wouldn't come. He'd be at some other camera somewhere else. And I don't know, what we say is such a dumb animal, they sure do get wary, especially if they've been pressured.
Man, they really do. And, it just made this, when you start feeling that pressure for the amount of time what we're working against the clock, and the amount of travel that we did. I was the one flying the airplane, so I was really tired, and it was a tremendous amount of travel, not a lot of sleep. And I think after the first day, that next day, it felt like I'd been on this trip for like a week and a half, and we'd only been gone like not even 24 hours.
Wow. So what kind of airplane are you guys hopping around on?
So we were flying a PC-12, which is a single engine turboprop made in Switzerland. It hauls a ton. It can land on small runways. It's got a really long range. I think our flight we had a 60 knot headwind going up to Kansas that night, had a 1,100 mile trip. And I think it took right at 5 hours to get there, and landed at about 1:30 in the morning. We got to a little flea bag hotel in Lyon, Kansas. And we went there, and I think I took a shower and put my hunting clothes on and set my alarm. I slept 1 hour, and then we got up. It was 25 degrees, and we went out to a farm. And of all things, we're set up on these birds, where we watched these birds roost the day before, the guide. And anyway, Casey Duty, who's an amazing hunter. And anyway, we're sitting there, and I saw a light kind of through this. I was on the edge of this big ag field, and by this farmer's house, and I could see through the trees, and I was like, saw a light, and I was like, wow, it must be like a far off, like car driving down a farm road a long way off. Well, long story short, there was a guy poaching, trying to come set up on these turkeys, walking through the woods, and walk within 30, 40 yards of these birds with a flashlight on. First of all, who's poaches with a flashlight? Yeah. And he walks in there. And so luckily, long story short, I'm assuming he probably got set up and saw our decoys and maybe snuck out of there, but he didn't end up bumping the birds, and the birds pitched down. And it was just one of those perfect mornings where 2 big gobs, the decoys were to my left and they were to the right. And my buddy did an amazing job calling, and he just called them straight in, and we shot them. And that hunt from daylight to to that, those birds getting shot was like not even 10 minutes. So then we were able to get in the airplane and go to South Dakota, and thought we had her licked with having a full day in South Dakota, and we got our butts whipped.
Yeah. Well, they'll do that to you. And the interesting thing is, so you're flying all over the country, you're hitting these birds at different peaks of the breeding season. You know, it sounds like Florida, probably the end of the breeding season.
Yeah, they were done. Those birds were done. They've been pressured a lot, and they were not having any part of anything. It was just pure, like I had to run and shoot that bird running through the woods on the way to roost, and real weary. And then the birds in Alabama, it was a tough year in Alabama. They just really never got going really well. And it was really bizarre. Everybody kind of had the same thing, but we got lucky and found 2 birds that at 9 o'clock in the morning that would respond. And they came from 300 to 400 yards away from us and came up out of a bottom and walked down a road to get shot. And then the bird in Kansas was not a problem. And then, the birds in South Dakota were real early. It was super early on those turkeys, and they were really henned up. And we called that original bird right out of this steep little ravine, and he came up to see what was going on. But, it's like everything else. I mean, I think I learned so much every time I hunt, which is why I like to hunt, especially when I'm hunting big game with my bow. But, the biggest thing I would say turkey hunting wise, when it comes to using decoys, unless you're really trying to get a great video and you want the bird to attack the decoy and all that, and where the birds are coming from, you're way better off to have the decoy 100, 150 yards past you, way out of the threatening zone for a turkey. If you catch a 2-year-old, he's going to be scared to death. But if you put it far enough away, like the last bird we shot the last morning, we had the decoy down to my right 120 yards. He was 300 yards to my left. He was a little bit elevated on an ag field. We're on the edge of the woods. And so he saw that strutter we had way down there, and it was really dark that morning, kind of real dusky still. And how gobbler gets laser locked when they all of a sudden they start doing this.
Oh yeah.
And they go back and they do that and they go that. And that means they are full blown locked on that bird, and they're coming. And he did that. And so by that bird being 100 and something yards down, it brought him right down there in front of us. And it wasn't threatening to him, and he felt safe, and he still could do his thing, put on a show, and he covered the distance that we needed him to in a very short period of time to get that done. And that's kind of what the biggest thing I learned on that trip, and that turkeys are still crazy. Yeah.
And so do you turkey hunt quite a bit?
I do turkey hunt quite a bit, but I really, honestly, I'm obsessed with bow hunting, and that's my big thing. I'm sponsored by Hoyt and a bunch of companies in Badlands, and my big thing is mule deer hunting and elk hunting, and they've killed some giant mule deer, and that's kind of my big passion. I love being in the woods at my place. I love turkeys, but I really like photographing turkeys and filming them. I really don't, have to kill them anymore. I just love them at my farm. I like looking at them, and so. I like calling them for other people or filming somebody else. The thing about turkey hunting to me is if you're on a turkey hunt and you watch a turkey come in real close and get shot, it doesn't really matter to me who shoots it, because it's not that challenging just to shoot a turkey with a shotgun. And so it's just me more about the interaction with them and filming them and being.
I thought that too until opening morning in that gobbler.
Yeah, well, when one makes you mad like that and you're after one, then it kind of gets personal. But I just don't have the desire to just go smash and kill a ton of turkeys. I just love being close to me and watch them. I want to feel them, and I want that drumming to kind of like, I can feel that vibration on my body, and I love to watch them strut, and I love getting great pictures of them.
Yeah. Cool. So you guys had a pretty a good system there then. So someone was calling for you just
yeah, we just had to have, I had to have the caller in order to get the birds to do what we needed them to do and to get them in shooting range in the quickest amount of time. I had to have my caller kind of like when an elk hunt, back behind me or down past me to get the bird to come and where he could move around and not be detected. And so that really helped us, especially on the Kansas morning. And then also in Alabama, that helped us. It hurt us a lot the first morning because we were stuck together within 10 yards of each other, and we were open and we couldn't move. And we sat there for an hour and a half and had to listen to 9 gobblers gobbling and 50 yards behind us. And I could have just turned around and shot it, but we wouldn't have gotten it on camera. I couldn't. The camera guy was not close. I made the mistake of having him 10 yards from me, and he should have been sitting on the tree with me. But it just, we learned, and I learned a lot. If I was going to do this again, I know exactly how to do what I did and do it better for sure this time.
So you mentioned elk hunting. I don't miss the September archery season. I drew New Mexico this year. What are your plans?
So every year I have a place in Alberta, and so I hunt mule deer, whitetail, elk, and bear every year. Of course, COVID, the border's been shut in Canada, which
I've missed a black bear hunt 3 times now.
Yep, and it's put me into a massive depression, to be honest with you. But it appears that it will probably get open before the end of August this year. I'll be going up there to elk hunt, mule deer hunt, and whitetail hunt, and bear hunt in late August, and then early September I go to Colorado, and I'm hunting where I hunted last year. I shot a 351 last year, and early the first week of the season, and it's a little more challenging then, but it's it really, I like it because I'm fit enough to get up in the high mountains, and I was able to see 41 bighorn sheep rams one day up on this big mountain. And I like getting up there after them early season. And so you don't have the activity. It's not quite the bugling and all that, but you have to kind of be fit, and it's kind of spot and stalk, as well as, they will come in, but just not as much. But I'm doing that. And then I'm going to try to squeeze another one in if I can get one done. I hadn't figured it out. I've got a couple options. And then my mule deer hunt, I hunt Alberta every year, and I hunt Eastern Colorado every year. And I put in for a bunch of other draws. I don't know if I've gotten anything yet or not. So,
okay.
I use WTA to do all my stuff. So I don't even know what they applied for. I just tell them to apply for everything, and just tell me what hits.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, awesome stuff, man. That's a hell of a turkey trek, Grand Slam in under 46 hours. Thanks for jumping on, and for a great cause too. Kudos to you guys for raising some money for the NWTF.
Yeah, it was. I think what we did was for a really good cause, and I think what was really exciting, we had a lot of people engaged and watching. We did a lot of this live on social media, and the engagement of people who are non-hunters was fascinating to me. That people who don't hunt will probably never hunt, but were very, very engaged in what we were doing and watching, and kind of on their edge of their seat all the time with all the live broadcasts of where we were and where we were going. And I think people really kind of got into it. I had people that were running, CEOs of billion-dollar companies that were saying, "Hey man, I haven't gotten any work done in 2 days. I've been watching this and I'm riveted to what's going on, but this is killing my work efficiency." But so we had a real fun time with it. We did raise a lot of money in it, and we're happy. And we'll probably pick a different charity next year and do something a little different. And we'll find something to do to raise some money to give back. So
you mentioned you have a cooking show. So I'm assuming you do some wild game cooking then. What's your favorite wild turkey recipe?
Man, I've never had turkey better than taking the breast and stripping it, and then we marinate it or soak it in buttermilk with a lot of salt and pepper and some garlic salt overnight, and then we take it and kind of clean it all off. We don't rinse it with water, but we get all the buttermilk off, and then we re-season it with salt, pepper, and garlic salt, and then we just put it in flour and dredge it in flour. No other soak or mixture or anything. No more liquid, and put it in flour and fried in peanut oil. And they are one of the best meals that you'll ever have at my place. And we have some great meals. If you follow me on social media, you'll see some insane food cooked at my farm. But that's the way I like it the most. And then I take the carcass and I will boil the carcass and make really good stock out of that. And then I take that and usually either make a pasta sauce with it, or I'll make soup or something like that. But
awesome.
My cooking show is Darn Hungry, and it's sponsored by Spy Point Camera. And we launch an episode every month, and there are 4 episodes out right now. The last weekend of the month is when we launch a new one, and they're about 6-7 minutes, and they're real simple recipes. Everything's made from scratch, that won't break the bank, that taste great, and that are something that any average cook can do. And that was the purpose of this, is just to get people who may be a little intimidated by cooking to go out there and to want to try something and see if they can make a recipe and cook for their friends and family, and just learn how to do maybe one thing really well.
Awesome. Well, it's called Darn Hungry.
Darn Hungry. Yep.
Okay. I'll check out the YouTube, and I'll be sure to give you a follow on social as well. And I look forward to watching how long is the video of the turkey?
So the turkey hunt, the whole thing is 27 minutes.
Okay.
And so it shows all 4 hunts, the travel, all the moving around, the planning and all that. So it's really well put together. Those guys at ICT did a great job. And then I have on that YouTube channel, there are some other hunts. I've got some of my big hunts I'm going to launch in August. Like I killed a 235 mule deer spot and stalk that's going to be on there, and some other really big. I've got a Bazewar ibex I killed in Turkey, and
Wow.
so I'm going to continue to add a lot of hunts to my channel. And they're just some real short little hunts, and they're not like crazy professionally done, but they're raw, and but it's the real deal of getting out there and spotting and stalking with a bow.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to checking all of that out, and
Thank
certainly
you.
appreciate your time.
Yeah, I really appreciate you as well. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, John, take it easy, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Bye-bye.
All right, man. That was great.